Hey, welcome back. In today's episode, I'm going to run through the differences between Bitcoin and gold, and also I'll be analyzing what are the 10 top most decisive monetary characteristics between them and see which of the two comes out on top. So let's jump into today's episode. On this slide, I've actually listed out what are the top 10 monetary characteristics that differentiate between what is Bitcoin versus gold. And you can see it touches things like scarcity and hardness at the very top, all the way down to scalability and recognition at the bottom. So let's look at each one in turn very briefly. So given that in terms of scarcity, Bitcoin has indeed a fixed supply of 21 million coins, it truly makes it absolutely scarce, which in contrast with gold, yes, supply is unlimited and it's unpredictable in terms of how much more it can produce in the future. So for this very reason, I rank Bitcoin as the winner. In terms of hardness, Bitcoin is hard to produce and becomes harder indeed every 4 years as it goes through its halving process. Whereas with gold, hard to produce but not increasing in difficulty. So in this case, Bitcoin is a winner. In terms of liquidity, the amount of these units of Bitcoin and gold that's out there for people to trade with, it's fair to say that Bitcoin is growing rapidly, but smaller market capitalization than gold. That is of today. Whereas gold has a much larger market capitalization and more established liquidity because it's been out there for 5,000 years, whereas Bitcoin is only 15 years. So at this moment in time, gold is the winner. In terms of portability, Bitcoin is easily transferable globally in minutes, low in fees, whereas gold, it's heavy, difficult and expensive to transport. So in this case, Bitcoin is the winner. In terms of verifiability, Bitcoin is verifiable through simple mathematics, whereas gold verification is slow, very costly and requires trust in third parties. So Bitcoin is the winner. In terms of fungibility and privacy, Bitcoin has a public transportation history, but it is pseudonymous, whereas with gold, there's no transaction history and can be melted to remove any traces. So in terms of privacy, gold is the winner, at least for now. Durability, Bitcoin being digital and decentralized and robust, but needs technology, whereas gold is indestructible and doesn't corrode over time. So gold is the winner. In terms of divisibility, Bitcoin is highly divisible into tiny units of Bitcoin, known as Satoshis, whereas gold is inconvenient for small transactions. Bitcoin is winner. In scalability, Bitcoin can process limited transactions on the base layer, with layer 2 solutions coming out into the market, like the Lightning Network, to make it scale. Whereas gold requires third parties to function at scale. So Bitcoin is the resounding winner. And lastly, recognition. Given that Bitcoin is much newer technology and still gaining prominence and recognition in the marketplace because it's only 15 years, gold is the winner, right? Because it's widely recognized by all the nation states with its 5,000-year history. At least for now, gold is the winner. And just to close out this episode, I also want to leave more convincing news as to why you should consider Bitcoin over gold. I mean, this wealth map is very useful. It gives you the global wealth map of around $900 trillion that exist out there in the world, ranging from Bitcoin, which is currently just over $1.4 trillion market cap, followed by gold, which has just been updated to 14 trillion, followed by art, 18 trillion, collectibles, 6 trillion there, equities, which are mainly stock, 115 trillion, you got the real estate, 330 trillion, bonds, 300 trillion, and money, which is fiat and currencies, 120 trillion worth. So you can see that the trend, at least as far as I can see it, Bitcoin is slowly eating away these other types of wealth assets out there over time. It's starting out eating into gold, which I've explained why I think Bitcoin over gold is a unanimous winner. So it will demonetize gold in the midterm, certainly, short to midterm. And maybe the rest of the assets here you can see, certainly real estate, certainly bonds, certainly equity, and indeed money, because these assets, by its very nature, are more easily producible than Bitcoin, given Bitcoin is just a fixed supply. I mean, real estate, anyone can create more properties, bonds, any governments or companies can issue debt through bonds and money. As you know, the governments and the central banks are into the habit of continuing to print more money to satisfy the needs of their electorate rather than through taxation. And equities, equally, companies can issue any number of stocks in an unlimited fashion. So for these reasons alone, once you overinflate or produce something that is more, it really devalues the current savings or assets that we have. So really, Bitcoin is going to be the winner. It's going to eat into these other wealth assets. And mark my words, this is something that you should indeed investigate and convince yourself, as I have, why Bitcoin is going to be the resounding winner. Certainly to hold it into the mid to long term. It's not something that you want to speculate in 1 or 2 years, or let alone a few months. It has to be something that is in the long term in order to generate that intergenerational wealth for your families and loved ones. So that's it for today's episode. If you like it, please hit the like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel.